having that foundational piece that we laid out within the program, keeping it accessible and reading over it before you make content really does make it effortless to show up each and every day.
Hi, Janessa. It's so great to have you with us today.
Hey, it's so great to be here. Thanks for having me, Julie.
So I have been lucky enough to know you for a while now and have you in my world and in my community for a while, but wanted you to share our amazing podcast community. Tell us a little bit more about you and really the evolution of your brand and biz.
Yeah, for sure. So I have been, I guess I would like to consider myself like a wannabe entrepreneur for many, many years. I've always had all of these different ideas based off of my background in accounting and business on really what I wanted to get started. But I was really missing out on the foundational layers of really connecting with myself and knowing who I am authentically and honestly, like how I want to show up in this world. And so back in 2019, 2020, after years of just like very low self-esteem, low confidence, and just overall feelings of loneliness, I finally began on a journey of really self-discovery, personal growth, and I really reconnected back with myself. Like I shed just a lot of toxic relationships and bad habits and everything like that to really formulate like who I am today. And so with that and within all of that journey, a big piece of that was overall loneliness. Like, and that loneliness led me to so many terrible coping mechanisms all throughout my life. And so I really had to start analyzing those different things, identifying who I am and how I want to show up in this world authentically. And so here I live in Wilston, North Dakota. We're a very rural community here, and we have seen a lot of growth. We have seen people moving into our area due to an oil boom that started all back in 2010. And I noticed this huge need for connection at that time. A lot of people were moving here. A lot of people were not staying because they said that there was not much to do here and that they just really couldn't find their sense of belonging. And I really think that for people to feel seen and heard, they also need to feel like they belong in a community, whatever community that you create. So back in 2022, I finally took the leap and I created what I like to call What's Happening in Wilston. And it's where, it started out just like with a very simple concept. I share events, I share community heroes that are really making a difference within Wilston, and I share all about the various just local organizations where people can go and find the resources that they need. It's a very positive and safe place, and that group since 2022 has grown to close to about 10,000 members. With that, it also came with a lot of recognition on my end. People are coming to me as a community resource. And so that really helped me find my footing in terms of what I want to share. And for me, that all comes back down to connection, finding that sense of belonging and how to combat loneliness. Overall, I have a couple components to my business, but I have What's Happening in Wilston, which is just here within the geographic area. I am planning on spreading it and really implementing some practices to really help small business owners find their voice and find their clients here within our area. But then I also have the Connection Chronicles, which is just on Substack. And it's where I just share everything that I've been learning for the past couple of years in building the community, showing up as a resource, showing up authentically, and really having that courage to just love yourself and love others in the process too.
Oh, that's beautiful. Well, I have gotten to see that evolution over the last few years with you. And what was really cool is that you came back into my world just in a coaching capacity this year through my program, the Brand Accelerator. But before that, I know that you have been on a journey, just as you mentioned, with really curating and developing who you are in the world and how you want to show up and serve and support. And so with that to say, what does brand mean to you now?
To me, it is understanding your authentic self and then having the courage to share and be seen for your gifts. I really believe that a personal brand is just a manifestation of your authentic self, fulfilling your life's passion and purpose and impacting others in a really positive way.
And I love the way that you said that. It was so beautiful. I would love to know, how was the navigation of that for you? I know that there's probably times like now you probably feel more rooted in it than ever. And, we'll get to kind of what we got to do last year together with the Brand Accelerator and how that supported where you are today. But was it tricky for you to figure this out throughout your process? And if so, why and how?
Yeah, it was extremely tricky for me to figure out the why and the how and the who I am and all of that kind of stuff. Because at that, like through that whole entire process, I really just felt, I guess, like disconnected from like who I was as a person. And I was rediscovering all of that. And so I had to reevaluate everything. So really narrowing in on that point took a long time. It took a long time to reflect and just analyze who I am. And so I think anybody who is looking to, represent their personal brand, I think they have to understand that it does take time to truly find like who they are. And you really, really have to dig deep. And the Brand Accelerator really, really helped me with all of that because up until taking that course, I had some inklings of it, but the Brand Accelerator just helped me dive deeper. And it really got me to, I really want to help people with loneliness and find their sense of belonging and then also impact others. I think a huge piece that we forget is like we are all human beings, whether you're building a community online or in person, we are all human beings who want to feel like they belong and have a place in this world. And I think it is so important as us as leaders to provide that space for them to just be who they are authentically.
And I know that that has been a journey for you as you've shared over the last several years. And I also know just from what I do know about your journey is that you haven't ever really been one to shy away from getting resources and help and support for whatever it is that you need. So I would love to know because you've had a lot of help and support in various means until now. So what was about last year in particular, and what was it about your brand and your messaging in particular that you said, okay, I think I need to deepen where I've been able to get myself to? I think I need to really deepen the concepts here and get more support.
Yeah, so I think that all really started with what's happening. Like I said, I built that Facebook group. Now I have a website and everything. I've built that to about 10,000 members, which is huge. Like our community has about 30,000 people in Wilston. Like we aren't a big like metropolitan area. Like it is small. It's local. To me, that was a big success. But I was like, okay, now I have this platform. What do I want to do with it? Because I knew I just didn't want it to just be a Facebook group that people go to. I mean, it's a great resource, but like I felt that inkling that I could be doing so much more. And so that's where I really needed the piece. It's like I knew that I wanted to provide more, but I didn't know exactly what I wanted to provide more of and how to create that, if that makes sense.
It totally makes sense. And so, what were the kind of initial steps when you were starting to feel that this was coming up? What were some of the things that you maybe tried that worked or didn't work, or how are you trying to support yourself into getting that clarity?
Up until that point, a lot of it was just kind of like researching online. And because Facebook has a plethora of groups, they have all sorts of resources online on how to build communities. But again, like mine was just so unique in the fact that it was one central location. And if you look at a lot of Facebook groups that are within central locations, a lot of them are really toxic and negative and like to spread the drama. And I'm like a drama free kind of person. And then also, too, I also identified the fact that there are so many people that are shying away from social media as well. And so a couple of things that I wanted to initiate is like just making sure that my Facebook group was just a positive and safe place for people to go and get the information that they needed. That was a core value of mine. But then also too, creating a website and then also creating an email newsletter as well to really service everyone within my community and not just a Facebook group. Because again, not everyone is on Facebook for their own various reasons. And I wanted, again, for them to have that access because people said the communication that I was receiving is that nobody knows what is going on in our community because they are not on Facebook. And there was not one central calendar that showcased everything that was going on for people to participate in. And so I created that calendar on our website. And then I also did email newsletter. And so it was just kind of learning about all of those different things. But again, my email newsletter was by no means some like big grand gesture. It would have the weekly events to know about and different resources that people can provide and share. But up until, this year, everything was free. And so it was just really determining that was the piece that I was like, how can I monetize this? And how can I build an even deeper connection with my audience to really advocate for shopping local, supporting local businesses, all of those things that I am a true firm believer on.
And so when you knew that you needed a little bit more support in that, what was your first kind of step or desire or curiosity in the Brand Accelerator and the methods taught in my program?
I had hopped on a webinar of yours about the Brand Accelerator, and I know that you had that triangle that just kind of showcased the various steps that we really needed to get clear on for us to just really accelerate and like grow our growth. Honestly, that triangle and having that representation, because again, up until that point, I was just kind of like figuring it out on my own, but I didn't have that foundational layer of like, what do I want? What's happening, and also me as a person, like how do I want to be reflected? Like I'm a firm believer that any business that you create, you can slap a different name on it, but it is still a direct reflection of who you are as well. Like you have to take some ownership of that brand too. And so I knew I was really missing some foundational pieces within there. When going through that webinar, I was like, gosh, this will really help me answer a lot of these foundational questions. So then here now in 2024, I am then able to confidently showcase products and services that are going to help my ideal audience members.
And how was that journey for you inside the Brand Accelerator? Maybe compared to free resources that you've gotten or podcasts that you've listened to, or just other ways that you've tried to just use your own knowledge and understanding to kind of piecemeal stuff together. How was that a different experience in terms of results?
I will say, like, it was a wildly different experience because that program dug deep. The modules and everything, it again took time and reflection, and it really, really, really made me dig deep into everything that I was doing, that I was producing, and how I was showing up. So that was the biggest key takeaway, like out of several other courses and resources, free resources provided the platform, like to just really dive deep. And then also, too, the community of people within it was just amazing. I really enjoyed the group of wonderful, inspiring ladies that were in the Brand Accelerator. I still connect with them offline through Instagram and support them in various ways, too. I was able to find an accountability partner who I still meet with, and I can still be open and honest about my journey and how I'm doing both emotionally and within my business and everything. Like I was able to get just such a group of like-minded individuals and really honestly kind of find that space of belonging. So on one hand, the coursework and the materials and the coaching calls, it caused me to go even deeper and lay out that foundation to where I can confidently stand on it. And then two, with that sense of community, it really provided me just sense of belonging and happiness knowing that I was surrounded with really inspiring women. And that inspired me to continue working on my business too.
What were some changes that you might have seen in just how you started to show up in your community, how you started to create content, how you started to really look at your messaging, your marketing from a lens of you being an authority and you being someone that specializes in something?
I would have to say that it provided me the confidence to show up and create content, even if on that day I didn't really want to, if that makes any sense. Again, like it really allowed me to dive deep and to really lay out that foundational work. So whether it was creating content for what's happening or creating content even just for me personally on like my personal channels of Instagram or Facebook, it allowed me to really analyze the messaging, find my ideal audience members, analyze the messaging, and be like, okay, this is how I want to. And also experiment. I have grown that Facebook group and I've shown up in that way authentically. I'll do lives, I'll do reels, I'll do various things. And then on my Instagram platform, it's a little bit different. My audience is a little bit different. And there, I really just gave myself that grace to experiment, to test different things out. That is one thing that I really appreciated. I mean, sometimes like when you are building a business, you feel like you have to get everything perfect and be perfect in everything that you do. And the Brand Accelerator like really just taught me, it helped me lay out those foundations, but it also provided me almost that permission to myself to experiment, have fun with it, and really engage with the people on all platforms.
And then what are some of the just the benefits or transformations that you've seen now that we've been several months out from, our last coaching call during that cohort together? But have you seen a change in the engagement in your working, like anything like that that you have seen?
For sure. And like either realm, locally or online, I've seen a huge amount of growth and support. And honestly, just like my ideal audience members finding me and connecting with me. And two, I've just seen again, like the amount of individuals who reach out, especially on a local level, to ask for resources, to ask for help, and just really engage with me. That has been, I mean, it's really, really increased. And then when I introduced a couple different paid partnerships at the beginning of the year, I would like the Brand Accelerator helped me like narrow in on who my ideal audience members are. And I was able to attract those clients. And so I've brought in close to about $8,000 in revenue just within this month since the Brand Accelerator. And it helped me, I guess, in terms of really defining that messaging to be able to have the confidence to ask for those paid partnerships. And the best part is that the people that I'm working with are people that really light me up inside, that really get me excited, and that are truly people that represent my brand. So that has been an incredible like journey of mine too, is finally like beginning that entrepreneurial journey, working with these clients, working on creating paid courses and different things that are really going to add value to so many different people.
And now you have this audience that is truly core and in aligned with what it is that with who you're meant to serve and what it is that you're meant to provide. And I would love for you to talk a little bit more about that because inside the Brand Accelerator, for those that are listening that are not a part of it yet, we do a lot on unique value proposition and what that means, why it's so important. It doesn't sound sexy, it doesn't sound fun. People love to just want to resist that. But I would love to hear your experience on what, like, really understanding from the methodology of the Brand Accelerator, what a unique value proposition is, how that really helped you hone in on what it is that you specialize in, becoming that authority, becoming that place that people feel trusted and confident to go to for their information. And how did that really help you with growth and engagement as well?
Identifying the UVP was probably one of the, I wouldn't say hurdles, but it definitely took the most time within the program because it's such a large piece. Again, it really, to know your UVP is to also just know like who your authentic self is. And again, how you want to show up and represent that. And it really came down to identifying the belonging piece, the loneliness piece, and then also making sure just that accessibility, I guess, is huge for me, making sure everybody has accessible information. And so going through the UVP was an extremely long process for me. And I kept on making iteration after iteration. And, I would share with my accountability partner on I think I'm getting closer, but it would always, throughout the coursework, I would just get further inspiration and be like, oh, I'm going to add this piece and I'm going to add that piece. And it all just kind of morphed together by the end of the program. And it really, again, for me, my UVP really comes back to belonging, connection, community, and accessibility. And those are just 3 or 4 key pieces of who I am. Again, your UVP is supposed to represent a really big piece of you, like who you are and how you want to serve this world, I think is really what the UVP stands for.
And do you think that your not only discovery of that, but just maybe permission to own it and embrace it has really not only helped you grow your audience, grow your engagement, most importantly, get those bigger partnerships, make the thousands of dollars. But how else do you kind of see that as being a key part to play in how you're approaching your business now, maybe versus before you learning and having the experience of the Brand Accelerator?
I would have to say that now knowing all of those foundational elements, like that has really helped me put together my brand values and to share that information, share what our brand is all about. And by sharing that out there, like by telling people this is who we are, and by staying rooted in that, that has then allowed our ideal audience members to find us even more, I guess. So it really, beforehand, I was just putting out content. It didn't really matter what the content was for. I was just like, oh, look, I'm at a coffee shop today. This is great. And, oh, I love this coffee shop, whatever it might be then. But now it's like, you guys, please come and shop local. What's happening is all about shopping local. We want to make sure that our small business owners are feeling supported. So please come on down to our local coffee shop here. And my favorite drink is an Americano, comment yours or whatever it might be. But again, every piece of content circles back to the connection piece, the belonging, all of those different things. And it just is like one big circle, I guess. Like I'm able to connect everything back to my brand values. And that was all from the Brand Accelerator compared to prior to where I was just creating content because I thought I needed to create content and it wasn't really serving anybody. But now I'm creating content that I know serves a perfect purpose and it attracts the people that I want in my realm.
You brought up something that I think is really interesting, the way that you're sharing that. Do you feel like now that you have the tools and you know this methodology and you get to use the Brand Accelerator method in your work, do you feel like it also helps you, I don't want to say necessarily create more content because that's not really what it's about, but do you feel like it allows you to create content more effortlessly or easily? Like I feel like that's a big thing for people is that they either don't know what to create, so they don't create any content, or they don't know what to create, so they just create a bunch of random content that doesn't really move the needle. But the way that you're describing it, it seems like there's just kind of this effortless flow now with your ideas, with who you're targeting, with what you know that you're meant to say, which probably does make a content creation easier. It probably also makes it faster, which I guess would mean that you could create more content.
Yeah, it does. I would have to say, too, piggybacking on all of that, because everything that you just said is true, but it allowed for purposeful content. Like, I wasn't walking in making content just thinking that I needed to make content. It provided the purpose as to why I was making the content. Anytime that I sit down, schedule out my posts, or write an email newsletter, I am thinking about what purpose does this provide and what do I want to communicate this week? It goes back to it making that so much more effortless. I'm able to communicate our brand values and our UVP, our USP, everything, because I know all of it and I can reference it. I read back through it all of the time. I think that's one major thing. Like when you are going through a program, don't go through the program and do all of the worksheets and then never reference it again. Like these are elements that are going to change and morph as you grow and change too. But having that foundational piece that we laid out within the program, keeping it accessible and reading over it before you make content, before you plan out your year for 2024, whatever it might be, like it really does. Like having those foundational pieces really does make it effortless to show up each and every day.
And you had mentioned something a bit ago. You mentioned confidence a lot. I would love to know because with effortlessness, what I would assume is that it creates more space. It creates more space for other things in your life and your business and whatever it is that you desire and want to come through. So, along with confidence, what else? And you mentioned money, like you're making more money, which is great. You have more confidence, which is great. You're connecting to your idol audience, which is great. Is there more of a sense of freedom or space that you've been able to cultivate or call in now that you've got the tools and like the pieces to the puzzle are starting to come together?
Yeah, I would have to say that a big, I guess, like freeing thing for me has just been overall acceptance. Like just overall self acceptance, knowing that I am on the right path and staying rooted in who I am. I think that has helped. And I think acceptance can kind of go hand in hand with confidence. So in terms of like freeing up space and all of that kind of stuff, it overall, I would have to say, like, I truly accept who I am and I feel rooted in that. And I'm okay. A past version of myself would be terrified of people getting too close, I guess, because I was so insecure with who I was. And now I feel so much more secure, not only in my business, but who I am. And so, with that piece of acceptance and going into new relationships, partnerships, working with clients, building an audience, I feel so much more accepted for who I am and how I show up. And that has been completely freeing for me compared to a past version of myself that would have been always wondering what other people are thinking of me.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. There might be some people that are listening now that are thinking like, wow, okay, this sounds great. This sounds amazing. This sounds like exactly what I've been looking for, or this is intriguing to me, or I'm getting curious. But they also have a past and a history. Maybe they've wasted a lot of time on some free resources, or, free webinars, or maybe they've wasted a lot of money on coaches or trainings or programs that just didn't really move the needle. So for those that may be curious about this, who would you say the Brand Accelerator is perfect for?
I would say the Brand Accelerator is perfect for anyone who um, has an idea for creating, whether it be a personal brand or online business, in-person business, whatever it might be, but who understands that they're missing some of the foundational key elements. Like when I was going through the Brand Accelerator, we had people in there who were far along in terms of their entrepreneurial journey compared to me who just started. And I will tell you that 100% we were all accepted and treated as equals within that program. And so just because you may not have a large audience going into the program, I don't want that to stop anyone from joining, because I was kind of nervous about that joining, but I knew that it would set me up for success with anything that I would try to accomplish in my life. And I met with really, again, inspirational people who were taking action, who had built really incredible realities for themselves. I still visit with them. I've created really great friendships with a lot of the people that I went through in the program. And so I would say that Brand Accelerator is for anyone who really wants to get to the core, deep, personal, like foundational pieces of their personal brand, and who wants to generate an impact and build a business.
Oh, that's beautiful. And I loved what you said about where you're at in your journey, because I get that a lot. I'm just getting started. Is it right for me? Or I've been doing this for 5 years. Am I going to get anything out of it? And what I really loved about the women that came in this time around was that people were starting at varying stages. We had a great number of people that were just getting started. We had a great number of people that had been doing it for a couple of years. And then we had a great number of people who considered themselves pretty advanced, who had been at this for 5, 8, 10 years, but still something was missing. And so to me, I don't really think it's about where you're at in your journey as much as it's about, do you feel like something is missing along your path where you're at right now? And I think that you really, touched on a lot of that with those varying pieces. So I would love to hear a little bit more about where you're going from now. Now that you've got all the tools in the toolbox and you've got this incredible community of women that you know that you can rely on and count on, what is next for you and your brand?
Yeah. So for me, again, like a couple various things, but I have what's happening in Wilston, and I'm introducing a lot of great programs to support small business owners here within Wilston and more just regionally. Again, like North Dakota is a big state, and we have a lot of small communities that feed off of Wilston. So I don't want it just to be Wilston, but to support those within Eastern Montana, here within North Dakota, and to really help them show up and succeed in their businesses. And then, of course, too, I've got the Connection Chronicles, and that is all just on Substack. And that is where I can creatively express what I am learning, and provide people actionable steps on how to not only reconnect with yourself, but how to connect with others in an authentic way and really build communities. I know that we are in such a strange world because it is so easy to connect with people online or in person, but yet so many people are feeling isolated, and I don't blame them. I mean, our world is filled with social media platforms to where, you scroll and you're constantly reminded of the things that you're not doing, and that can really cause some mental strain on individuals. And so the Connection Chronicles is just a safe and open place for people to come and learn, how do I reconnect with myself and how do I generate impact in my community. One thing about what's happening is like that idea started with the simple step of sharing events. Like that's it. I have lived in Wilston most of my life. I know the organizations to look out for. I'm very knowledgeable on my local area. And I grew a community that trusts me of to 10,000 members just by sharing events, just by showing up, and just by helping them and assisting them wherever I could. And I think that's one thing that so many people forget about. Like, is it, you don't have to have some big grand scale master plan. I didn't have that with what's happening. All I had was like, I see that there's a need for this and nobody's taking the initiative to do it. So I'm just going to do it. And again, people have then, it's really opened up so many opportunities and doors for me, not only on my local area, but then also allowing me to find creatively, what do I want to share with the world? And that is all about connection and combating loneliness. And you can find all of that within the Connection Chronicles.
Oh, it's so good. And I mean, I will just say, I think that you have such a gift for community building and bringing people together. And for anyone out there that no matter what you do, if you're wanting to build a stronger community, or if you're someone who's like, I need to learn how to build my community up, or I feel like I'm missing things, following along with Janessa and seeing how she's been able to do this so naturally and organically, it really is a gift that you have. And I love that you have rooted into this and you're making this your thing, because it is. I mean, it is what you are meant to do. And also just to kind of see your own journey of personal growth and development. I think that it's really a beautiful thing that when you really allowed yourself to have that journey, then all of these other things started happening. I think it's always kind of magical that because you said yes to whatever that was a couple of years ago, it allowed for this journey for you to say yes to more and more and more. And so I'm just so proud to see how you continue to grow and flourish and really just deepen into what you are here to do and who you're meant to impact. And I think a lot of people could learn a lot from the way that you show up and the way that you build community. So with that said, I would love for you to share where everyone can find you, the Substack information, your socials, so they can start to dive into all the great content that you're creating.
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram, which is at Janessa J. Storley. And then you can also find me on Substack too. You can just either search Connection Chronicles, or else you can just search janessajstorley.substack.com, I believe it is. I'm on both of those platforms. That's where I like to share everything about community building, connection, and empowering. I love to educate through a 3-part system, which is connect, communicate, and empower. And I think if you narrow in on those things, you will really, truly build communities that you are excited to be a part of.
Oh, it's so great. Well, thank you so much, Janessa, again, for being here, sharing your journey, sharing your wisdom, sharing how you really are seeing the social media landscape, and just also offering that feedback and that reflection for those who may be ready to dive into really deepening their brand strategy and growing their personal brand. So thank you again. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks so much, Julie.